Then if we can move, we're moving on to section 8, which is our delegations. And 8.1 is a delegation from Richard Barter regarding the proposed school closures in the Clarkson community. If you would come forward, please, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Richard Barter. In the interests of transparency, I should let you know that after closely following the Accommodation Review Committee process, I'm the new chair of the Hillside Parent Council. My two sons both attended Elmcrest from kindergarten to grade 5. Now one of them is at Hillside and the other at Clarkson Secondary. I should apologise at this point to any of the trustees or board members that were here 2 weeks ago at the physical planning and build meeting. Much of this speech is eerily familiar, but pay attention, there are a few differences. Like many in this room and outside, I'm incensed at 2 of the 3 schools closing in the Park Royal neighbourhood of Clarkson. Think about that. 66% of the schools in the neighbourhood. That's got to be a record. I spent a weekend with the help of my sons and approximately 20 other community members distributing flyers to raise awareness of this issue in the Elmcrest catchment area, and worked with many of the people here tonight to get the Peel District School Board and the ARC to keep at least 2 schools open in Park Royal. I helped organise a community meeting at Elmcrest in June, attended by Trustee MacDonald and many other board members. The initial list of scenarios did include options for keeping 2 out of 3 schools open, but these were soon eliminated by the ARC as unsustainable. The remaining scenarios left Park Royal short on students, as the Erin Mills area elementary schools would now feed into Erin Mills Middle School. This is a logical solution for their community and in the best interests of their children. But as Erin Mills students account for over 50% of the students at Hillside, losing this number of students left us woefully short on options. However, no one in our community tried to block this, as it makes total sense for their community and for their children, which after all is supposed to be the most important thing and is why we're all here tonight. Scenarios remaining on the table for the ARC for final consideration left our community with the inevitability of closing 2 schools and keeping just 1 school open. So given this hand dealt to us, what is the best solution for our community and for our children? The slide that's up on the wall there shows you the community we're talking about. To the north we have the QEW, to the south the railway lands, the Via tracks, to the east South Down Road, and to the west Winston Churchill. This slide here shows you the Clarkson Community Centre, which lies at the heart of the community. That has a brand new swimming pool, which was just constructed last year, plus a rink and a library. I'd like to also then show you the schools that we're talking about for those that are unfamiliar with the area. This is Elmcrest, this one here is Hillside, and this one here is Willowglen. Next up, the next slide will show you the walking distances from the 3 schools to the community centre. This is important because the community centre can obviously be used for skating programs, swimming lessons, and the library. From Elmcrest, it is a 0.5 kilometre walk. From Willowglen, it's 1.3 kilometres. And from Hillside, it's 0.3 kilometres. So 0.5, 1.3, and 0.3. The next slide will show you the busing radiuses, or radii, I should have looked that one up, for the various schools. This would be if Elmcrest were the surviving single school. The white areas here are within a kilometre of the school and no busing would be required. The lightly shaded areas here you can see 1 to 1.6 kilometres, which would be busing for kindergarten children. The darker shades here don't actually take in any residential units, and that more than 1.6 kilometres, which would be for kindergarten to grade 4 students. The next slide will show you the same information except for Willow Glen. Sorry, next slide, Brian. Thank you. Again, the unshaded area less than 1 kilometre. The shaded area here, the lightly shaded area, 1 to 1.6, which would be for kindergarten children. And the darker shaded area here, and you can see there are some residential units in this one, would be for kindergarten to grade 4. Finally, the map here for Hillside shows you, doesn't stand out too well unfortunately with the green, but you've got the green, the lightly shaded area here would show you the more than 1 kilometre for the kindergarten children. The only dark green shaded area here is the on-ramp to the QEW. I think we're okay there. So, Hillside. Hillside has plenty of parkland adjacent to the school for sports and for active use at recess, even once a new block is built. Sorry. Sorry about that. There's plenty of parkland adjacent to the school for sports and active use at recess even once a new block is built. There's a functional bus loop, and we would have significantly fewer bused students, saving the board money on an ongoing annual basis. There's an excellent constructed play area for the younger kids already on the parkland. The gym is big enough for the older kids already. There would be a positive impact on traffic patterns. Many will walk. You could likely only need to bus 30 to 40 students in, and there are no students being bused in from Erin Mills. And if this map were a dartboard, Hillside would be the bullseye. Now, some may argue that because the proportion of land owned by the PDSB at Hillside is less than the proportion owned at Elmcrest or Willow Glen, that this is negative. However, the PDSB staff report does confirm the intent of the board and the City of Mississauga to work together to arrange a land swap. The necessity to acquire land for renovations and additions at Hillside has been considered a negative by some in the community. In fact, this can also be seen as a positive, as here is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the city to do a land swap with the land at Willow Glen to create a park where there isn't one and to protect that area from potentially unwanted development. You can see from this slide here that there's actually, in this quadrant of Park Royal, there is no parkland, whereas in other parts of the area we have a park here, a park here, a park here, and a park at Hillside. So, in the next slide, what's up, sorry. In this slide here, we've shown what the community could look like if we had a park where Willow Glen School currently is. You're closing 2 out of 3, 66% of the elementary, middle schools in our community. Nobody's happy about that. Not the residents, not the homeowners, not the kids, and certainly not the fantastic teachers that we're blessed with. We want something back. Will you give assurance to the Park Royal community, where you are closing 2 of 3 schools, that the net proceeds from the disposition of the board land at Elmcrest and Willow Glen be set aside 100% for the new consolidated Hillside site? Number 2. As a part of the ARC recommendation regarding transition planning, quote, the ARC strongly supports the development and approval of a detailed and comprehensive implementation plan to best ensure a smooth and orderly amalgamation of schools that is least disruptive to the students and the community, end quote. Therefore, will you please consider integrating as many of the teachers, teaching assistants and staff from Elmcrest and Willow Glen into the new school as is feasible. This will provide a greater degree of continuity to the younger children who feel a strong emotional bond to their homeroom teachers and will ease what will be a big change in small children's lives. Having got to know so many of the teachers at Elmcrest over the years, I can attest to the difference that they make in our children's lives, and I have no doubt the same applies to the Willow Glen teachers also. And number 3, will you please build a renovated, technologically modern 21st century school for the Park Royal community at Hillside, and consider implementing programs of choice to avoid going through this process again 10 years from now. In short, we have done our part by repatriating the Erin Mills community with their local schools. It's your turn to make good to the Park Royal community in Clarkson. I have been to each public meeting and know that the ARC has invested a great deal of time and effort to come up with what they genuinely feel is the best solution for this community and its kids, given the limited scenarios made available with the loss of the bussed-in students from Erin Mills. I'm here as a member of that community to ask you to support the ARC recommendation, to keep the revenues raised from the disposition of funds within our Park Royal community, to modernise Hillside, and to give due consideration to the teaching staff. You owe us this at the very least. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Barter, before you go, I'll just see if there are any questions of clarification from trustees at this time.
Nope.
You know that we are dealing with this later on in the agenda, of course, but we will respond to your delegation in writing of your report. Come back to the board at our next board meeting, which is February the 14th. If you have notes that you can submit, if you wouldn't mind leaving them with them, and that will help us respond to your delegation. And I see no questions, so thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for your time, I appreciate it.
Our second delegation is Dan Anderson.